Okay, sweetie, so apparently you're not wanting to understand or listen. So, hi, I'm Mama Rose. I am a transgendered woman. I go by she, her, they, them pronouns. And I can tell you right now, my period I experience every month is very real, very valid, and very painful.
We're living in a time where this is something you're actually expected to take seriously. But it gets even worse.
But I've been cramping incredibly bad all day, and at some point, my pain tolerance went away, and it started hurting incredibly bad for the last 2 hours. So much so that it made me go and throw up 3 times. So yeah, PMS symptoms are ruining my Disney trip.
Yes, you heard that right. Biological men not only get periods now, they get period pain too. Didn't you know? Because apparently, simply identifying as a woman means you inherit all the biological functions of womanhood, minus the uterus, ovaries, or any of the actual reproductive parts. And apparently, men's restrooms weren't truly inclusive, so they decided to install period products in the men's restrooms too.
And the men's bathroom, they've seen fit to install a tampon machine there. I don't know just how much trade they're going to have in the men's bathroom there, but
Welcome to 2025, where reality is whatever the woke movement says it is. We're told that gender is just a feeling, that biology doesn't matter, and that the only response is to shut up and accept it. And if that sounds insane, that's because it is. So how did we get here? How did we go from women's rights to biological men in dresses demanding tampons? Well, it all started with a book nobody actually read. Back in 1990, a gender studies professor named Judith Butler decided that gender isn't biological. It's just a performance. If you act like a woman, then congratulations, you are one. At first, this nonsense was just locked away in gender studies classrooms, where students paid thousands of dollars to be confused about reality. But then the universities started taking it seriously. Then the activists got involved, and before you knew it, corporations, Hollywood, and politicians were all playing along. And that's how we got where we are today, where being a woman isn't about biology, it's about feelings.
Day one of being a girl, and I have already cried 3 times. I wrote a scathing email that I did not send. I ordered dresses online that I couldn't afford. And then when someone asked me how I was, I said, I'm fine, when I wasn't fine. So, how'd I do, ladies? Good? Girl power.
Because nothing says womanhood like an over-the-top parody of female stereotypes, brought to you by a guy in a dress. This isn't gender identity. It's an insult to the very women he claims to represent. So now that we've established that being a woman is just a performance, let's talk about what happens when that performance collides with biological reality. And funny enough, it's almost always men doing the performing.
Day 12 of being a girl, and I just picked up some tampons. And y'all are probably thinking, Dylan, where are you going to put those?
Actually, I was wondering the same thing. Where is he going to put them? Because unless suddenly he grew a uterus, there really aren't many options.
Men do not have periods. That is a fact. Men don't have periods. Men don't have periods. Men don't have periods at all. A lot of people like to say this, but it doesn't take away the fact that I am a man who has experienced periods. It doesn't mean that I and every other trans man suddenly stops existing just because we're men who can have periods.
It takes a lot of balls to say that. And in his case, he still has his attached, so I'm not sure exactly how he's getting periods. We live in an age where feelings matter more than facts. Then we have authors writing books for children like this, teaching kids that men can have babies. Never mind that. Biologically, this is just a woman who took testosterone, got pregnant, and now wants everyone to pretend otherwise. Because when we say pretend, we mean it. Because if gender ideology was true, this image wouldn't exist. Here we have the anatomy of a white woman, a black woman, an Asian woman, a fat woman, a skinny woman, and a trans woman. Now call me crazy, but something here doesn't look quite right. Can you spot the difference? But remember, if you say that out loud, you're a bigot. So once you convince people that biology doesn't matter, you run into a new problem. People's feelings still do. The solution? Change the language, because nothing is more dangerous than words that might hurt someone's feelings.
The banned words. Here are some of the best of them. Alien. Can't say alien anymore. Newly arrived species. Blind becomes awareness. Feminised, masculinised. Describes specific traits. Primitive is ancestral. Virgin is unmated. I mean, this
Not
is a
even a
bizarre
word.
one. Discover, identified instead. Master becomes primary. And the best one
This
of
is the
all,
best one.
male and female, sperm producing and egg producing.
And if you thought this was just about a few words, think again. Because now even the most basic biological terms are being rewritten in the name of inclusion.
To be more inclusive, I'm working on saying chest feeding instead of breastfeeding.
Chest feeding.
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 Chest feeding is just inclusive. There are non-binary people. There are trans men who lactate.
And it doesn't stop there. Because even acknowledging basic female anatomy is now considered offensive. Now health professionals are urged to call vaginas bonus holes to avoid offending trans or non-binary patients. Apparently, vagina is now an offensive word. According to gender activists, we need a more inclusive term, so they suggested bonus hole. Or if that's not dehumanizing enough, there's also front hole, which is another suggestion they have included. Naturally, women aren't exactly thrilled about this. Feminists are calling it misogynistic and dehumanizing, because, well, it is. But this isn't just about inclusion. This is about controlling speech to control thought. Because if you can force people to change the words, eventually you can force them to change reality. After rewriting language and biology, there was only one thing left to do: replace women entirely. And so, in the name of progress, we entered a new era, where the best women are men. This is Miss Maryland USA 2023, a competition where women compete to be crowned as the pinnacle of beauty and grace. But this year, the winner wasn't exactly a woman. He spent his whole life as a man, threw on a dress, tucked it back, and boom, he's a beauty queen. Must be hard to cover up the bulge in that evening gown. And it's not just beauty pageants. Remember Caitlyn Jenner, who won an Olympic gold medal in the men's decathlon as Bruce Jenner? But years later, after deciding he was actually a woman, Jenner was awarded Glamour's Woman of the Year in 2015. Imagine the fact that there are 3.5 billion women in the world, and they still end up giving the award of Woman of the Year to a biological man. And then we have Leah Thomas. As a male swimmer, he was ranked 462nd in NCAA competitions. But after transitioning, suddenly he's a national champion, crushing women's records in 2022 that real female athletes spent years trying to break. Funny how that works. And finally, we have Fallon Fox, a male fighter who transitioned and decided to compete in women's MMA. In 2014, Fox fought Tamika Brents and left her with a concussion, a fractured skull, and 7 staples in her head. This is clearly the height of social progress, where male fighters in wigs can now beat women unconscious, and if you point it out, you're the real offender. The ironic downside? In the name of progress, we now have a massive rise in testicle injuries in women's sports. Who could have predicted this? It's one thing to change words and rewrite records, but when self-identification starts having real-world consequences, it stops being funny. Meet Isla Bryson, a convicted rapist in Scotland who suddenly decided he was a woman after being arrested. And what happens when a man declares himself female? Well,
this is a dangerous, violent sex offender, a double rapist, once known as Adam Graham. And here is the same person, now identifying as a woman, Isla Bryson, a predator who's been detained in a women's prison.
That's right. He's a rapist that gets sent to a women's prison, because apparently the only qualification for being female now is saying so. And if you think that's bad, just wait, because in California, they took this idea one step further.
52-year-old state prisoner Tremaine Carroll must be referred to with she/her pronouns because Carroll identifies as a woman. But the district attorney believes the defendant is abusing the system.
This is a person who's not a woman in any sense of the word.
In March, DA Sally Moreno charged Carroll for rape allegedly committed while incarcerated at the Central California Women's Facility in Chowchilla.
After his first cellmate became pregnant and was moved to Los Angeles, 2 other cellmates of his complained that he had raped them. So we have filed rape charges against this inmate.
Yep. Who could have possibly predicted that sending a rapist into a female prison would result in pregnancies? Apparently, according to this movement, gender is a social construct, but sperm is still very real. The transgender movement is actually the natural consequence of feminists pushing the idea that gender is just a social construct. They insisted that male and female were nothing more than labels, interchangeable, fluid, and dictated by society. And they fought to make sure everyone believed it. They pushed for laws, rewrote language, and celebrated every time a man declared himself a woman. But now they're the ones being called bigots for stating the same biological truths they once denied. And that's the irony. They blurred the lines between men and women, and now those lines have disappeared entirely. The movement that claimed to fight for women's rights is now erasing the very definition of what a woman is. Because the problem with building an ideology on a lie is that eventually it collapses under its own contradictions. First, they said gender wasn't real. Then they said women could have penises. Now the same feminists who championed this ideology are being cast out for not keeping up with the next stage of the delusion. This movement was never built to last, because a lie can only survive for so long before reality catches up. Who could have possibly seen this coming? If you found this video insightful, you might like another one on a similar topic. Click on the thumbnail to watch or keep exploring. Also, please comment, like, and subscribe to the channel.